Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. It's election day, and that means election night. And that means Bret Baier will be in the anchor's chair at Fox News tonight, beginning, I believe, at 9 o'clock. Bret, what's the over-under on your wrapping up tonight, do you think?
Well, we hope it does, but, New Jersey could go late. I think New York probably is going to be callable, and probably Virginia, if I had to guess. New York ends at 9 p.m. Virginia's at 7. So we should have some guidance by 5 p.m. in what it's a sort of an exit poll, but it's our Fox News data analysis. We should have a good sense of where things are heading and what time we should be able to call things. We get that briefing in about an hour. And just looking at it going in, I think New Jersey is potentially the latest.
That's what I think you'll be able to call Prop 50 in California at 11 o'clock Eastern, because the polls will close at 8. And that machine is a machine, and it's Gavin's machine, and it's going to pass. And then I hope Indiana follows through and redistricts, but that's the Republican in me. Let me ask if you read any significance into Zohran Mamdani on Morning Joe this morning. He's seated next to Al Sharpton. He's got Jonathan Lemire there, Willie Geist. He got, of course, Mika and Joe. And here's Zohran talking about BDS, which is boycott, divest, and I can't remember what the S stands for, but it's nothing good towards Israel. Cut number 4.
To go back to Joe's previous question, I've talked to Jewish New Yorkers who like your message of affordability. They think it's the right message, but then they go back and they say, well, he supports BDS. He won't condemn the language of globalize the intifada. He seemed to play both sides after October 7th in his initial statement. They're deeply worried that you have some animosity for Jewish people and for the state of Israel. How do you respond to that?
Look, I think critiques of the state of Israel are critiques of a government, as opposed to critiques of a people and of a faith. And my job is to represent every single New Yorker, and I will do so no matter their thoughts and opinions on Israel and Palestine, of which millions of New Yorkers have very strong views, and I'm one of them.
Would BDS be the policy of your administration as mayor?
I've said that I would support and have supported nonviolent movements to bring about compliance with international law. And where this mayor has violated and looked to violate that kind of law, I would bring us back into compliance.
So yes.
No, I'm talking about compliance.
Okay.
Right? And I've said that I support BDS because this is a movement that is looking
for... So
that.
it's sanctions. Boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. Doing that on election morning, Bret? What do you read into that?
Well, I think it's kind of bold. I don't think that there's a thought that he needs to do anything different than he's been doing when it comes to the Jewish vote. And there are some percentage of Jewish voters that are still voting for Mamdani, despite some of the things he said. And you've seen the president take to Truth Social and elsewhere saying that's a wasted vote, and all of the things that he said about Mamdani. I think it's a fascinating study in a campaign that he's a very good campaigner. He is a very good retail politician. He does this video where they reveal that he's in the nosebleed seats at the Garden for the Knicks game, and he tweets out that he's there, and then he shows Cuomo on the court side, saying court side equals corruption. I mean, he's very populist in his pitch, and the question is whether New York is going to buy all of that.
Well, he began backpedaling in the same sit-down this morning, cut number 5.
Question affordability in this city. Living here is top of everyone's mind. It has gotten obscenely expensive to live here, to do anything here. So you're proposing free grocery stores, free buses, $30 minimum wage, all of which sounds incredible.
Cheaper groceries, not free groceries.
Excuse me, cheaper groceries.
So you hear that, Bret? Cheaper groceries, not free groceries. So we're backpedaling. We're making sure we're not really. I wonder if it's cheaper buses, not free buses. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that is a walk back, because he clearly campaigned on the free groceries and the free buses. And, as he's getting closer to reality of maybe winning Gracie Mansion and the mayor's office, maybe there's a reality that he's going to have to dial back some of these promises.
Meanwhile, Andrew Cuomo shows up on the couch on Fox and Friends. Knock me over with a feather. What'd you think when you saw that?
Well, he's been on my show. He's been on Martha's show. He's been all over Fox airwaves, and he made his final pitch on Fox and Friends this morning, and they gave him a ton of time. Listen, he was a horrible candidate at the beginning. I don't know why, but he just didn't look like he had the fire in the belly. He's in recent weeks kind of stepped it up in his campaigning, but he lost the Democratic primary, and now he's trying to race to the finish line. I don't know if it's enough at the finish line.
Now, Curtis is melting, and he's melting rather quick, and he's mad, and it comes across on TV. Have you talked to Republicans in New York who've decided, I don't like Andrew Cuomo, but I like the city more than I dislike Andrew Cuomo?
Yeah, I've heard that anecdotally, and obviously the president's push moves, a little bit, and obviously we've had all of the candidates on. I had Curtis on last week while I was in Dallas, and just to make sure that we touched all the bases. I think there are some people that say if he gets 12, 15%, it's much like, not to refer to a really good book, when Teddy Roosevelt and the Bull Moose Party takes 20% of the vote and Woodrow Wilson becomes president.
Now, speaking of Teddy Roosevelt, the least in temperament, but perhaps the most like him in terms of robust national security policy, is the now late Dick Cheney. I knew the vice president pretty well for a journalist. I'm sure you did as well. You were at the Pentagon through the years of fire. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the vice president's passing today?
Well, I covered the White House during the second term of the Bush administration, and I traveled the world with Vice President Cheney on Air Force Two. I think I define his vice president as really consequential, his vice presidency, because it was the most powerful. He expanded the role. He was always fighting for executive power and executive action, which is very similar to Teddy Roosevelt in that way. And then he was changed after 9/11 in that everything he saw was through the prism of 9/11 and protecting the country, and that's how he approached things.
Now, to rescue the American spirit begins with Teddy Roosevelt's dash to try and get back to Buffalo, where McKinley, who wasn't supposed to die, is dying. And it's a fabulous anecdote recitation. Dick Cheney was always one heartbeat away, but he was also one good heart away from going a long distance. I thought his valiant effort to stave off heart disease it was a book. He wrote the book Heart with Liz Cheney. Do you think he had any premonitions at all about becoming president and being ready to be president that would have held him back at all from running?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know that his health was a concern, but every time he got a new procedure, they always innovated and something new was happening. And originally his doctor said 10 years max when he got a transplant, and he well surpassed that. So I don't think that was a hindrance. I do think that his popularity obviously took a hit after the Iraq War and some of the things that were controversial, Abu Ghraib and how the enhanced interrogation techniques. I think that at that point it was over, but he was thought to be a candidate early on, but chose not to be.
Now, I want to close by talking about the vice president's intellect. In a town full of egos, not always matched by their intellects. Dick Cheney had an incredible mind, in my view. You think he's the equal of anyone when it comes to just pure brain power? Because I thought he was pretty big in that department.
Yeah, he was. He thought a lot. He read a lot. It was interesting because I covered the Pentagon under Defense Secretary Rumsfeld, and they had a long relationship back to when Rumsfeld was a congressman from Illinois, and then he brought him on staff, and then he got him to the White House. Cheney becomes White House Chief of Staff to Ford. Rumsfeld works in that White House as well. I think that he did have this intellect and a political sense about things to the point where Bush found him crucial in that vice presidential hunt.
Yeah, I just think it's one of the covered stories as smart people in D.C., and Dick Cheney's one of them. And Bret, we will be watching tonight, starting at 9 p.m. until who knows what time. It might be close to New Jersey. Gosh, I hope that goes towards Jack Chitterelli. Thank you for spending some time with me. You get warming up in the bullpen, ready to come in. Bret Baier from Fox News. Don't go anywhere, America. I'm going to continue covering election night, bring you up to date on what we